Leonardo da Piero da Vinci, April 15, 1452, May 2, 1519. True Renaissance man. He was a brilliant painter and an accomplished engineer, scientist, sculptor, and architect. His fascination with various subjects led him to create detailed drawings and notes on anatomy, astronomy, botany, biography, painting, and paleontology in his notebook. Leonardo's work epitomized the Renaissance humanist ideal and continues to inspire artists and thinkers today. Imagine being born out of wedlock to a successful notary and a lower-class woman in or near Vinci. That was just the start of this individual's incredible journey. Educated in Florence by the Italian painter and sculptor Andrea del Verrocchio, he began his career in the city, or spending much time in the service of Ludovico Sforza in Milan. Later, he worked in Florence and Milan again, briefly in Rome, all while attracting a large following of imitators and students. Upon Francis Wehr's invitation, he spent his last 3 years in France, where he died in 1519. Since his death, there has not been a time where his achievements, diverse interests, personal life, and empirical thinking have failed to incite interest and admiration, making him a frequent namesake and cultural subject. Leonardo is renowned as one of the most exceptional painters in the history of Western art and is often hailed as the pioneer of the High Renaissance. Despite having lost many works, and with fewer than 25 attributed significant pieces, including several unfinished ones, he has left an indelible mark on some of the most influential paintings in Western art. His masterpiece, the Mona Lisa, remains his most celebrated work and is widely considered the world's most famous individual painting. The Last Supper is the most reproduced religious painting of all time, and his drawing of the Vitruvian Man is hailed as a cultural icon. In 2017, the painting Salvator Mundi, wholly or partially attributed to Leonardo, was sold at auction for a staggering $450.3 million, setting a new record for the most expensive painting ever sold at a public auction. Known for his remarkable technological innovations, he envisioned flying machines, armored vehicles, concentrated solar power, a ratio machine for adding, and the double hull. While most of his designs were never realized due to the limited scientific knowledge of his time, some of his lesser-known inventions, like an automated bobbin winder and a wire tensile strength testing machine, quietly found their way into manufacturing. Beyond his technological pursuits, he also significantly contributed to anatomy, civil engineering, hydrodynamics, geology, optics, and tribology. Surprisingly, many of his findings were never published and had little direct impact on future scientific development. When Leonardo was just a young boy, his father, Ser Piero, recognized his incredible talent, apprenticed him to a renowned studio. Art seemed like the perfect path for Leonardo, given that many other career options were closed to him as an illegitimate child. Under the guidance of his father's clients, the young artist was introduced to one of the most respected workshops in the city, that of Andrea del Verrocchio. Having studied under the great Donatello and served as an official sculptor for the powerful Medici family, Verrocchio provided Leonardo with a comprehensive artistic education. Starting as an apprentice, Leonardo performed basic tasks before progressing to preparing pigments and canvases. Finally, he began studying and drawing under the guidance of Verrocchio, honing his skills in various artistic genres. Back in Leonardo's day, Florence was booming. The young lad was in the thick of it all, soaking up the vibrant social scene. Lorenzo de' Medici, the big-shot ruler of Florence, was constantly throwing these epic shindigs, and you can bet Leonardo was right there in the middle of the action, taking in all the extravagant sights. We can even imagine him wandering the countryside during one of these bashes, sketching a stunning landscape with a keen eye for every geological and botanical detail. Don't forget this exciting bit. During the Renaissance, paintings were typically a collaborative effort, with a master directing a group of artists. Leonardo's first known contribution to one of his master's works was in Verrocchio's Baptism of Christ. Critics agree that Leonardo painted the leftmost angel, which is distinguished by its light and graceful features. It's even said that Verrocchio was so impressed with Leonardo's talent that he decided to focus on sculpture instead of painting, leaving Leonardo to take over most of the workshop's painting. This allowed Leonardo to work on his pieces, including the famous Annunciation, Let's delve into the fascinating debate surrounding Leonardo's involvement in the Annunciation. Some argue that he only created the background, while others believe he also painted the angel, citing similarities between the angel's sleeve and Leonardo's sketches. With their striking realism, the wings are attributed to his genius and love for birds, but some critique the angel's flat head as uncharacteristic of Leonardo. Regardless of the execution, it's likely that Leonardo designed the composition, potentially leaving the painting to others. Despite the angel's dominant presence, the unity in the painting is undeniably characteristic of Leonardo's artistry, as the angel and the Virgin interact seamlessly, along with the cohesive background of 4 pine trees and a building. Leonardo's career took off with a bang. His master was a big deal in Florence and had the powerful Medici family as patrons. Under Verrocchio, Leonardo picked up some exciting habits, like painting curly hair and creating triangular compositions. But as he grew, his style evolved, and his extraordinary talent began to shine through. Even as an apprentice, his unique style was evident. An X-ray of Verrocchio's baptism revealed that Leonardo's brushstrokes were lighter and more exceptional. There was no conflict between the organized master and his genius pupil. Despite his struggle to finish projects, Leonardo showed remarkable discipline, teaching himself Latin and dissecting cadavers to learn about anatomy. He indeed was a dedicated pupil. As a young man from the countryside, Leonardo must have been amazed by the city of Florence. While his artistic skills were top-notch, he needed to be more refined than his peers, likely stemming from his humble beginnings. His later love for luxury and fine clothes might have resulted from the envy he felt as a young man of modest means in Florence. Back in 1476, just as Leonardo was establishing himself as a master in his own right, he found himself embroiled in a scandal. Along with 3 other young men, he was accused of sodomy, which was a criminal offense in Florence at the time. Despite the culture of disregarding such matters, Leonardo and his co-defendants were put under scrutiny by Florence's officers of the night. At only 24 years old, Leonardo had to face the accusation of a homosexual encounter with Jacopo Saltarelli, a well-known prostitute. Charges were brought in April, but to everyone's surprise, they were dismissed in June due to a lack of witnesses and evidence. The involvement of the powerful Medici family might have played a role in this outcome, especially considering that one of the defendants was closely related to them. After completing the case, Leonardo found himself in a highly creative period. Around the mid-1470s, he dedicated himself to crafting the portrait of Ginevra de' Benci. Then, in 1478, he received his inaugural commission from a religious group who tasked him with painting an Adoration of the Shepherd. Although he initially made some preliminary sketches, he ultimately abandoned the project. Leonardo wrote in his journals that year, "I have begun the 2 Virgin Marys." Critics agree that the Benoist Madonna is one of them. Imagine a lost treasure re-emerging in the 19th century, sold by a traveling musician to a Russian in southern Italy. It was then confirmed to be the work of Leonardo in 1909. In this masterpiece, the Christ child on Mary's lap plays with 2 small flowers, but his expression is solemn. The play of light and shadow gives the impression that the light source emanates from above, as if from heaven. Both figures have halos, although Leonardo gradually moved away from adorning his religious subjects with such symbols. The Virgin's radiant, round face reflects Leonardo's earlier style, and her expression is uniquely captivating, departure from his contemporary Canoli's conventional portrayal of Madonnas. Learning about Leonardo's commission for the Adoration of the Magi is fascinating. When he was around 30 and had already established himself as an independent artist, he received this prestigious commission. However, he left Florence to go to Milan before completing the painting. Despite being unfinished, critics still hail it as a masterpiece. The painting showcases Leonardo's remarkable ability to breathe new life into a familiar scene, the 3 wise men's adoration of Christ. In a bold move, he removed the traditional manager to the rear side to depict a crowd emotionally reacting to the child's epiphany. Leonardo famously emphasized the importance of capturing the state of man's mind through gestures and movements, and we can see this brilliant vibrancy in his work. Unlike the typical religious paintings of the time, Leonardo infused realism into the scene, presenting a dynamic and engaging composition. He skillfully crafted a pyramid-like structure by arranging the figures in a semicircle around Mary at the apex. Additionally, including two calmly posed figures and the dueling men in the background adds depth and complexity to the narrative, possibly symbolizing the contrast between the coming Christian order and the vices of the past. Leonardo's attention to detail and ability to convey emotion through his art set him apart as a master painter. Let's look at Saint Jerome, another painting created by Leonardo da Vinci just before he departed for Milan. Interestingly, like the Adoration, this painting was also never completed. Despite his productivity in Florence, it's not surprising that he left. Leonardo couldn't finish the major commissions he received, the two Adorations, due to being charged with sodomy. This event had a significant impact on his life, leading to a lifetime of paranoia. Additionally, it raises questions about Leonardo's sexuality, with indications suggesting that he might have been gay. Leonardo's life and work are full of intriguing details that continue to captivate and inspire. You are watching a video on the channel Biography Journey. If you like this video, please give us a like and a subscribe to help our Biography Journey channel reach 100,000 subscribers soon. Thank you very much. In 1482, Leonardo decided to make the leap and move to Milan. He had already mastered the art of painting in Florence, but he longed for something more. Leonardo's interests were not confined to painting. He was just as passionate about science and had begun to jot down numerous scientific ideas in his notebooks. Moving to Milan, a city less focused on art, meant he could explore and apply his diverse interests further. Yet, another primary reason for Leonardo's relocation was the opportunity to work for Milan's ruler, Ludovico Sforza. Milan's strategic position in southwestern Europe made it a focal point of military activities. Leonardo expressed his eagerness to serve as an army engineer in a letter to Sforza. While we're unsure if Leonardo sent this letter, it underscores his strong inclination toward military engineering. During this time, Leonardo designed a range of military machines, from a primitive war tank to a fearsome chariot equipped with scythes on its wheels. The letter to Sforza also hints at Leonardo's involvement in creating an equestrian monument for Sforza's father, a project that sparked Leonardo's imagination and fueled his ambition. This monumental horse would be an extraordinary fusion of engineering and art. When Leonardo first arrived, his initial significant project was the awe-inspiring painting, Virgin of the Rocks. Commissioned by the Confraternity of the Immaculate Conception in Milan, Leonardo encountered numerous legal challenges during the process. As a result, he had to oversee the creation of a second version of the painting in 1506. The most captivating aspect of the Virgin of the Rocks is the placement of the Virgin on the rocky terrain, creating a sense of divine separation from the viewer. The rocky caves in the background add to the ethereal feeling of the painting. Notably, Leonardo's portrayal of the Virgin is more mature and natural than his previous work, with a longer and more natural head. The angel and the infant John the Baptist on either side of the Virgin, along with the Christ child at her feet, form a captivating triangle reminiscent of the Adoration of the Magi. The intricate gestures and expressions of the figures add depth and symbolism to this extraordinary masterpiece. As Leonardo delved into the intricacies of his immersive paintings, he also delved into the intricate workings of the human body through intensive anatomical research. His quest for knowledge led him to dissect cadavers, resulting in meticulously detailed sketches and diagrams that are considered some of the most comprehensive studies of the human body before the 20th century. In addition to documenting the known structure and functions of the body, Leonardo made groundbreaking discoveries that challenged contemporary medical beliefs. His fascination with anatomy endured throughout his life, and he envisioned compiling his findings into a book titled Of the Human Figure. Regrettably, this book never materialized like many of his unfinished paintings. Leonardo da Vinci quickly made a name for himself in Sforza's court in Milan. He was a busy bee in the 1480s, completing two famous portraits, the portrait of a musician and the lady with an ermine. Plus, he began the ambitious project of creating a vast bronze horse to honor Sforza's father. This horse would be massive, standing 20 feet tall and made of 200,000 pounds of bronze. Unfortunately, it never got built, and when the French invaded Milan in 1499, the horse model was even used for crossbow practice. Despite this setback, Leonardo kept up his pattern of intense scientific investigations in his spare time while juggling major public projects and portraits. That's the kind of dedication that defined his entire career. In 1490, a 10-year-old boy named Giacomo, also known as Salai, became a new addition to Leonardo's household, as documented in the artist's journals. Hailing from a peasant family, Salai is described as a beautiful boy, and the true nature of his relationship with Leonardo remains a mystery. Despite his constant petty thievery, Leonardo doted on Salai, showering him with gifts and showing unusual leniency towards his naughty behavior. Salai continued to live with Leonardo for the rest of the artist's life, although frequent quarrels marked their relationship. Interestingly, when Leonardo dies, it appears that Salai may have received less than expected, adding to their dynamic's intrigue. Did you know that in 1493, a woman named Caterina came to live with Leonardo? There's a mystery surrounding her true identity, as historians are uncertain whether she was Leonardo's mother or a servant. Some scholars believe she was indeed his mother, based on vague personal notes in his notebooks and the timing of her arrival. Interestingly, Caterina passed away a few years later, which aligns with the age of Leonardo's mother, Time. In Leonardo's era, it was common for mothers to live with their children after their husband's death. However, Leonardo's minimal spending on her funeral raises questions, suggesting he may have wanted to avoid drawing attention to his illegitimacy. But that's not all. In 1495, Leonardo started working on a spectacular wall painting for Sforza. Picture this: Sforza dining in the convent of Santa Maria delle Grazie twice a week, and desiring a captivating portrayal of the Last Supper to adorn the wall facing his table. Leonardo's most iconic works include The Last Supper and the Mona Lisa. Did you know that The Last Supper is not just a painting, but also a brilliant optical illusion? Painted on the wall of a dining room, the perspective of the painting seamlessly merges with the room's lines, creating a mind-boggling effect. The table of Christ appears to float above the heads of the dining monks, while the lines focus on Christ's head, cleverly framed by an open window, a detailed halo without the traditional gold discs. Some believe this was Leonardo's way of showcasing Jesus' natural grace, while others suggest it was a gesture towards secularizing the myth of Jesus. The Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci is an incredible masterpiece with intricate details and symbolism. Leonardo paid particular attention to scriptural information, ensuring the seating arrangement reflected the Bible's description. However, he dared to defy traditional Quattrocento arrangements by placing Judas on the opposite side of the table. Judas is depicted as the third man to Christ's right, clutching a money bag. The positioning of each disciple forms a dynamic composition, with Christ at the center, creating a regal triangle with his body, while the disciples create rippling waves around him. The scene captures the intense moment when Christ announces that one of them will betray him, with each disciple reacting differently to the news. The composition's flowing circuit and the contradicting movements of the disciples' hands add an animated quality to the painting. Leonardo's ability to breathe life into a well-known scene is remarkable, as seen in The Last Supper and other works such as The Adoration of the Magi. When Leonardo da Vinci painted The Last Supper, he faced unique challenges. His master, Verrocchio, specialized in sculpture rather than wall painting, so Leonardo had to figure out the technical process independently. He experimented with different paint mixtures and insisted on using oils that weren't suitable for wall painting, leading to the immediate deterioration of the artwork. At the same time, the famous mathematician Fra Luca Pacioli visited Milan, and despite Leonardo's lack of formal education, he eagerly learned from Pacioli. Their collaboration led to the creating of a book called De Divina Proportione, with Leonardo providing the illustrations. This period also saw Leonardo's impressive decorative work in La Sala delle Asse. In 1499, Milan was in a state of turmoil. The French invasion of Lombardy forced Sforza to flee to Germany, while Leonardo and Pacioli sought refuge in Mantua. Despite Sforza's attempts to reclaim Milan with Swiss mercenaries, he was betrayed by the forces he hired, who the French had bribed. At 47, Leonardo found himself grappling with the impermanence of his masterpieces. His paintings, including the unfinished Adoration of the Magi, the disputed Virgin of the Rocks, and the deteriorating Last Supper, seemed to be fading into obscurity. Even his ambitious project of creating a giant bronze horse met a tragic end when idle soldiers destroyed the model. Amidst these challenges, the arrival of Salai in Leonardo's household brought a glimmer of hope. Whether their relationship was innocent or romantic, Leonardo cherished Salai and later welcomed other male pupils into his home. The arrival of a woman named Caterina, likely his mother, further lifted Leonardo's spirits. Despite his setbacks, Leonardo's thirst for knowledge was unrelenting. He eagerly delved into new research fields, forming a close bond with Pacioli and expanding his diverse skill set in the years to come. You are watching a video on the channel Biography Journey. If you like this video, please give us a like and a subscribe to help our Biography Journey channel reach 100,000 subscribers soon. Thank you very much. After leaving Milan, Leonardo and Pacioli embarked on an adventurous journey to Mantua. While there, Leonardo briefly worked on a portrait of the remarkable patron of the arts, Isabel d'Este. The picture remained unfinished despite her persistent letters over the next 5 years. In 1500, Leonardo made his way to Venice amid the chaos of the French invasion of Lombardy and ongoing conflict. Intrigued by the city's war with the Ottoman Empire, he approached the Senate of Venice with ambitious plans. Proposing the construction of a mobile dam and a daring underwater raid, Leonardo sought to outmaneuver the enemy forces. Unfortunately, the Senate did not act on his innovative ideas. Undeterred, Leonardo kept the details of his designs closely guarded, determined to protect them from falling into the wrong hands. In April, he returned to Florence and reunited with his father, the wealthy 74-year-old Ser Piero, who was living with his fourth wife. Leonardo found lodging with the Servite friars of Florence and hoped to find a patron soon. Although he agreed to paint an altarpiece for the friars, it took him months to get started. In the meantime, he worked on several architectural projects and continued to fill his notebooks with ideas about building materials and the collapse of building. The altarpiece for the friars was supposed to depict the Virgin and Saint Anne, in keeping with the popular trend of portraying Saint Anne, Mary's mother. At the time, there was much debate about a controversial passage that claimed Saint Anne was also a virgin mother. By 1501, Leonardo had started working on the preliminary drawing, but the painting was never completed, despite intermittent efforts. Interestingly, the unfinished painting exudes a unique beauty in its incomplete state. In the artwork, the Virgin is depicted bending down sitting beside her mother, Saint Anne. Anne's enigmatic and dark expression makes it seem like she holds the secret of Jesus' destiny, while Mary appears warm and content. It seems Mary is reluctant to let go of the child, who is already interested in tending his flock. In 1502, Leonardo da Vinci found himself amid excitement as he took on the role of a military engineer. His fascinating journey began when he crossed paths with Cesare Borgia, commanding force behind the Pope's army. Borgia was on the brink of conquering central Italy, particularly the Romagna region. As summer faded into late August, Borgia enlisted Leonardo as his principal military engineer. Leonardo's quest led him along the picturesque Tuscan coastline, where he meticulously inspected fortifications and undertook the daunting task of draining marshes. His travels eventually brought him to the Romagna, culminating in Imola, Borgia's chosen winter quarters location. Imola, a heavily fortified city, braced itself for an imminent attack. During his time in Imola, Leonardo likely encountered Niccolò Machiavelli, a figure he would later reunite with in Florence. Known for his ambitious nature and unconventional methods, Borgia was a character with whom Leonardo seemed to form a unique bond. Amid his official military duties, Leonardo's time in Imola also witnessed a groundbreaking achievement. He sketched what could be considered the first ever directly overhead map of a city. a significant departure from the prevailing maps of the time that depicted a bird's-eye view from an angle. Remember this. Initially, Leonardo seemed to be headed back to Milan. There was hope that Sforza would reclaim his power, but his Swiss mercenaries shattered those dreams when the Duke was betrayed. Even if Leonardo had plans to return, it didn't seem like he was too loyal to Sforza, especially since the Ottomans were attacking Venice, Sforza's behest. Sforza wanted to divert Venice's attention to regain Lombardy, an ally of France. However, despite all this, Leonardo was keen on developing scientific strategies to defeat the Turks and help Venice win the war quickly. He was cautious not to let his ideas fall into the wrong hands, yet he didn't seem to mind which side used them. Similarly, Leonardo didn't have a problem working for Cesare Borgia, known for his scandalous behavior. But for Leonardo's loyalty was to science above all else. When Leonardo returned to Florence at the age of 48, he was already a renowned figure. He still needed to fulfill his ambition. Despite his previous struggles with completing commissions in the city, as evidenced by the Virgin and Child with St. Anne and a Lamb, he found himself back in a changed Florence. The Medici family had lost power, and a fiery preacher named Fra Savonarola had condemned the church and ordered the burning of sinful books. Even though Savonarola had been executed when Leonardo returned, his controversial ideas still lingered. It's fascinating to ponder whether Leonardo felt more or less at ease in the Florence of 1500 compared to that of 1482. In 1503, Leonardo decided to part ways with Cesare Borgia for reasons still unknown. Some say he was able to foresee the end of Borgia's reign, while others believe he was appalled by Borgia's involvement in several recent assassinations. Back in Florence, Leonardo likely reconnected with Machiavelli, as both were involved in a project to divert the Arno River away from Pisa during the city's war with Florence. Leonardo's engineering expertise was sought after for this ambitious undertaking, but unfortunately, the project failed. Despite this setback, Leonardo's reputation continued to soar, leading the Republican government of Florence to commission him to paint the Battle of Anghiari on a vast wall in the Palazzo della Signoria. This marked a pivotal moment, as Florence sought to harness the talents of its renowned son for this monumental task. Most art critics believe that Leonardo started working on the Mona Lisa while he was still in Florence, likely around 1505. The painting's subject has been a topic of debate for years. Some recent computer technology analyses suggest that the portrait may be a female version of Leonardo himself. In contrast, others argue more reasonably that it depicts the wife of Francesco del Gioconda. If the sitter was not Leonardo, she never received the portrait because he took it with him when Leonardo moved to France. Following his death, the French royal family held on to the painting until the French Revolution, when it became public property upon the opening of the Louvre, belonging to the French people. Similar to Leonardo's Last Supper, technical issues led to the failure of this painting. It deteriorated rapidly, causing the artist to abandon it in 1505, long before its completion. The only existing records are a few sketches by Leonardo and copies made by other artists like Rubens. Rubens' style is evident in his copy, so it should not be viewed as an entirely accurate representation of Leonardo's original work. Despite his involvement in designing war machines, Leonardo often denounced the brutality of war. The Battle of Anghiari was meant to depict its horrors. The Mona Lisa has not only suffered damage from layers of dirt and varnish causing darkening, but its fame has also had a detrimental effect, as it is difficult for viewers to see the famous smile with fresh eyes. However, there is much to be gained from examining it closely. Initially, the round and flesh-filled head of the Mona Lisa stands in stark contrast to the flat and misshapen head depicted in the portrait of Ginevra de' Benci from 1474. Leonardo's artistic journey revolves around achieving the ideal female head. The coloration of the Mona Lisa is relatively subdued, partly due to fading over time, and partly intentional on the artist's part. Leonardo's fondness for utilizing shadows, veils, and sfumato techniques, achievable through oil painting, reaches its peak in this portrait, where color and light enhance the sense of volume. The background in the painting resembles other works by Leonardo, featuring rocky crags and misty elements. Soon, Leonardo would be summoned back to Milan by the French government. While still in Florence, he likely attempted to create a flying machine for the second time. His initial attempt was most likely made in Milan in the late 1490s. Crafted gliders resembling birds and even some gadgets similar to present-day helicopters. All his research on flight and aerodynamics was based on careful observations of birds, meticulously sketching their wing movements. This period represented some of Leonardo's most fruitful years. Despite the eventual deterioration of the Battle of Anghiari, it received significant praise during its brief existence. Michelangelo was concurrently working on the hall's second mural. Although neither project was finished, artists from all across Italy gathered to witness and compare the artworks as the renowned masters toiled away. The paintings had endured, they would have primarily influenced the artistic style of that era. By the time Leonardo worked at the Battle of Anghiari in 1504, he had earned significant admiration for his engineering skills. Florentine government interrupted his artistic work to supervise fortifications in Piombino. When he initially left Florence for Milan, Leonardo was looking for a city where he could utilize his engineering and creative talent. It was only when he came back to Florence at age 50 that he finally found the lifestyle he longed for. You are watching a video on the channel Biography Journey. If you like this video, please give us a like and a subscribe to help our Biography Journey channel reach 100,000 subscribers soon. Thank you very much. 500 years after Leonardo da Vinci completed the Mona Lisa, between 1503 and 1519, a famous portrait is displayed in the Louvre Museum behind protective glass and attracts numerous visitors daily. Despite being recognized as the most renowned painting globally, many onlookers who get a close view of the artwork may need clarification on an ordinary woman's small, understated depiction. The subject is portrayed in modest attire, wearing a semi-transparent veil, dark clothing, and devoid of any adornment. While much has been discussed regarding her enigmatic smile and gaze, observers may still question the reasons behind the painting's widespread acclaim. The uncertainty surrounding the sitter's identity and the enigmatic expression add to the allure of the artwork, contributing to its enduring popularity. Numerous theories have been proposed to explain the painting's fame. Still, the most convincing arguments suggest that there is no single factor. Rather, the Mona Lisa's notoriety stems from a combination of fortuitous circumstances and the inherent charm of the piece. Undoubtedly, the Mona Lisa is considered a flawless piece of art. Even during Leonardo's time working on it, the painting was highly respected, with his peers emulating his innovative three-quarter pose. Giorgio Vasari, a writer from that era, praised Leonardo's remarkable ability to replicate nature closely. The Mona Lisa is an incredibly lifelike portrait, showcasing Leonardo's mastery of sfumato, a technique involving subtle light and shadow transitions, to give shape and reveal his understanding of facial anatomy. The intricate details, such as the veil, braided hair, and meticulously depicted fabric folds, demonstrate Leonardo's keen eye for detail and immense patience. While the enigmatic quality of the sitter's gaze and subtle smile wasn't seen as mysterious until much later, modern viewers can now appreciate the complexity of her expression. Leonardo created a multifaceted figure that captures the essence of human complexity. Numerous scholars argue that the Mona Lisa's exceptional quality alone was insufficient to propel the painting to fame, considering the abundance of other high-quality artwork. External factors also influenced the painting's renown. A significant aspect contributing to its fame is its location in the Louvre, one of the most famous museums globally. The journey of the painting to the Louvre began with Francis I, King of France, where Leonardo spent his final years. Initially part of the royal collection, the portrait remained hidden in French palaces for many years, until the Revolution transferred ownership to the public. After a brief stay in Napoleon's quarters, the Mona Lisa found its permanent home in the Louvre Museum in the early 19th century. As the Louvre gained more visitors, the painting's recognition also increased. The identity of the person in the portrait became more fascinating over time. While many experts think the painting shows Lisa Gherardini, the wife of Florentine merchant Francesco del Giocondo, there are no records of Francesco commissioning such a portrait, and the person in the painting has never been definitively identified. This unknown identity allowed people to interpret her in various ways. In the Romantic period of the 19th century, the ordinary Florentine housewife, who might have been depicted, was turned into a mysterious seductress. Théophile Gautier, a French writer, described her as an unusual figure, with a gaze that promised undiscovered pleasures, while others mentioned her deceitful lips and captivating smile. Walter Pater, an English author, referred to her as a vampire who had died multiple times and learned the secrets of the grave. The aura of mystery that enveloped the Mona Lisa in the 19th century still characterizes the painting today, sparking speculation. During the 19th century, Leonardo was elevated to a genius in the popular imagination. He was highly respected in the centuries following his death, although not more so than his esteemed contemporaries Michelangelo and Raphael. Scholars have observed that as interest in the Renaissance increased in the 19th century, Leonardo was perceived more widely as an exceptional painter, brilliant scientist, and inventor whose ideas foreshadowed modern invention. Many of his supposed inventions were later proven inaccurate, and his contributions to science and architecture were considered relatively minor. Nevertheless, the myth of Leonardo as a genius has persisted into the 21st century, playing a role in the enduring popularity, the Mona Lisa. During the 19th century, writers generated interest in the Mona Lisa painting. Still, it was only through the theft of artwork in 1911 and the subsequent media frenzy that it gained global attention. The news of the crime, which broke on August 22nd of that year, caused an immediate sensation, leading to a surge of visitors to the Louvre, eager to see the space where the painting once hung. The museum's director of paintings resigned amidst the chaos. Newspapers were filled with accusations of a possible hoax, and even Pablo Picasso found himself arrested as a suspect in the case. 2 years later, the painting was discovered in Italy after an art dealer in Florence notified local authorities about a man trying to sell it. The culprit was Vincenzo Peruggia, an Italian immigrant living in France, who had briefly worked at the Louvre, assisting with maintaining various paintings, including the Mona Lisa. Peruggia and 2 accomplices removed the portrait from the wall, concealed it in a closet overnight, and absconded with it the following morning. Peruggia, unable to sell the painting due to media attention, concealed it in a trunk with a false bottom until he was apprehended. He was then prosecuted, found guilty, and incarcerated for the theft, while the artwork traveled around Italy before joyfully returning to the Louvre. By then, many French citizens considered the painting a national treasure that had been lost and found again. Following the theft, the Mona Lisa gained even more renown, but the outbreak of World War I diverted much of the world's focus. Some experts suggest that Marcel Duchamp's mischievous alteration of a postcard reproduction in 1919 redirected attention to the Mona Lisa, initiating a trend that would elevate the painting to one of the most familiar worldwide. Duchamp subverted the reverence for art by drawing a beard and mustache on the lady's visage and including the acronym LHOOQ, intended to allude to a crude phrase in French, at the base. This act of irreverence sparked a minor scandal, inspiring other clever artists to realize that such antics could garner them recognition. Various artists, including Andy Warhol, emulated this approach for years afterward. Cartoonists and advertisers further exaggerated her image as artists distorted, defaced, and toyed with replicas of the Mona Lisa. With advancing technology, the painting was reproduced extensively, sometimes altered and sometimes not, resulting in the subject's countenance becoming one of the most recognizable globally, even among those uninterested in art. The Mona Lisa gained worldwide fame after being exhibited in the United States in 1963 and Japan in 1974. The painting was transported to the United States in a luxurious cabin on an ocean liner. During its 6-week display, it attracted around 40,000 visitors daily, the Metropolitan Museum in New York City, and the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. A decade later, large crowds welcomed the portrait in Japan. With the increasing affordability of travel since the late 20th century, more people have been able to visit Paris and see the painting in person, leading to the continuous large crowds today. The Mona Lisa's fame cannot be attributed to a single factor. Instead, it is a combination of numerous circumstances, such as its fortunate placement in the Louvre, the romanticizing of the 19th century, and the widespread reproductions in the 20th and 21st centuries, that have all contributed to its status as the most renowned painting globally. You are watching a video on the channel Biography Journey. If you like this video, please give us a like and a subscribe to help our Biography Journey channel reach 100,000 subscribers soon. Thank you very much. In 1506, Charles d'Amboise, French governor of Lombardy, called Leonardo back to Milan. At this point, Leonardo was a well-known figure internationally and was in great demand for his artistic talent. The government of Florence frequently wrote to d'Amboise asking for permission for Leonardo to come back to Florence to finish the Battle of Anghiari, a project they had already paid for. Despite these requests, Leonardo chose to stay in Milan, where he felt most at ease. The Confraternity of the Immaculate Conception, who originally commissioned the Virgin of the Rocks, had been in legal disputes with the De Pretis brothers, who painted the side panels of the artwork. Leonardo had to go back to the painting to oversee a new version, and possibly even contributed some work himself, with critics speculating that his influence can be seen in the angel's face. The changes in his artistic style are evident in the depiction of Mary, who appears older and more robust than in previous works. Leonardo's fortunes were improving as he gained recognition as a painter and engineer for Louis XII, King of France. During his travels in 1507, Leonardo met Francesco Melzi, a 15-year-old boy with almond-shaped eyes, who became one of his favorite pupils alongside Soleil. Later that same year, Leonardo had to go back to Florence due to family matters. His father had passed away in 1504 without a will, leading to disputes over inheritance among his legitimate sons. When Leonardo's uncle Francesco died, leaving a significant amount to Leonardo, his brothers once again tried to exclude him from his share, prompting Leonardo to take legal action. He even sought help from Louis II to expedite the legal process, which lasted about 6 months. While in Florence and Milan, Leonardo intensified his anatomical studies, sketching various organs from multiple perspectives, a technique ahead of its time in the 16th century. He also delved into hydraulic studies during this period. Leonardo's fascination with anatomy likely influenced his interest in illustrating the myth of Leda and the swan, where Zeus, disguised as a swan, seduces and impregnates Leda. The intense depiction of the myth's physical struggle between beast and human sparked Leonardo's imagination, driven by his focus on anatomy. When Leonardo met Melzi, Salai was approximately 30 years old. Salai may feel envious of the new handsome young man. The relationship between Melzi and Leonardo developed quickly. While Leonardo was in Florence waiting for the lawsuit's outcome, he wrote multiple letters to Melzi, requesting casual responses. In contrast, Salai created minimal art during his time with Leonardo, while Melzi was a dedicated student, leaving behind various drawings and paintings from his later years. As Leonardo aged, his productivity decreased. He focused less on large paintings and more on scientific pursuits, possibly due to his interests shifting towards science rather than art. With substantial patronage, such as from the King of France, Leonardo had more freedom to pursue his interests. It is uncertain whether Leonardo spent most of his time working on the Mona Lisa during these years, as scholars are still determining if the painting was finished then. In 1512, the Sforza family regained power in Milan after Ludovico Sforza's reign ended and Maximilian took over. Following his patron's defeat, Leonardo chose to travel to Rome, where Leo X, a member of the Medici family, was now serving as Pope. Giuliano de Medici, the Pope's brother and leader of the papal forces, invited him there. Along with his students Salai and Melzi, Leonardo lived in accommodations within the Belvedere, a residence within the Vatican walls. During his 3-year stay in Rome, Leonardo focused on studying architecture, hydraulics, and mirror dynamics. During this period, the Medici family's wealth relied heavily on the dye industry. To improve the dye-making process, Leonardo created a parabolic solar reflector that could accelerate the boiling required for dye production. While engaged in various architectural projects, Leonardo seemed disinterested, as Vasari suggested. According to Vasari, Leonardo resorted to playing pranks to entertain himself. He had a history of creating riddles. Now, according to Vasari, he engaged in activities such as permanently attaching bird wings to a lizard and inflating a pig's intestine to fill a room. During this period, Leonardo's notebooks revealed numerous apocalyptic visions, often featuring a flood similar to the biblical one. His notebooks also contained illustrations showcasing his artistic talent and his fascination with hydraulics. During this time, Leonardo sketched a self-portrait showing an older man with a long beard and tired appearance, typically associated with him. Notably, if this is indeed a self-portrait, as most experts believe, it is remarkable because it is drawn from an angle rather than straight on. Leonardo may have used a complex system of mirrors to achieve this perspective. During his time in Rome, Leonardo finished his final significant artwork, St. John the Baptist. Despite being his last piece, it has yet to be widely recognized. The ambiguous appearance of John has been a source of controversy among conservative critics for many years, as the figure's anatomy is inaccurate. Interestingly, Leonardo frequently made mistakes in anatomy in his paintings, despite creating precise anatomical drawings in his notebooks. This could indicate a separation between science and art in his work. Some reviewers argue that Leonardo reused elements from the Mona Lisa, such as the upward-pointing finger and smile, which they find unoriginal. 1515, Leonardo likely journeyed to Bologna to participate in the peace negotiations between the Pope and the new King of France, Francis I. When Francis I took over the throne, he had conquered Milan, and the Medici family wanted to ally with him. As a gesture of peace, Leonardo created a mechanical lion representing Florence. The lion could walk a short distance before a trapdoor in its chest opened to reveal a fleur-de-lis, a symbol of France. This invention impressed the new king. Leonardo did not find Rome to be a very welcoming place. Even though Giuliano de' Medici respected Leonardo greatly, it is still being determined if the Pope or his court truly valued him. There were rumors that they believed the absurd accusations made by a mere engineering assistant claiming that Leonardo was involved in necromancy or raising the dead. Additionally, the Pope seemed more interested in other artists in Rome at that time, such as Michelangelo. Like in previous periods, Leonardo was once again highly productive. Despite being around 60 years old, he continued to work as a consultant on various architectural and hydraulic endeavors. At this stage in his life, he maintained a playful demeanor and showed interest in exploring new subjects, like the characteristics of mirrors that he had not delved into before. After Giuliano de' Medici, Leonardo's patron, passed away in February 1516, Italy was captivated by the artistic talents of Michelangelo, Raphael, and Titian. Leonardo did not believe he would find another significant Italian patron, so he decided to accept invitations from Louis VII and later Francis I to relocate to France and be in the company of its rulers in the Loire Valley. The journey to France took approximately 3 months, during which Salai and Melzi accompanied Leonardo and likely one more servant. They traveled with pack animals carrying numerous chests containing Leonardo's belongings, including the Mona Lisa, as he knew he would not return home. Upon reaching Amboise, Leonardo settled in a manor at Cleux, which had a direct underground passage to the king's chateau. Despite his paralyzed arm preventing him from painting, Francis I treated Leonardo with great respect and considered him a valuable asset due to his engaging conversations. King held Leonardo in high regard, considering him the most cultured European man. Don Antonio de Beatus, who worked as a secretary for the Cardinal of Aragon, paid a visit to Leonardo at Cleux. He portrayed Leonardo as a distinguished and noble man. During the visit, Leonardo shared his notebooks with de Beatus, leading him to believe they might be published. Despite creating outlines and schedules for various treatises on topics such as casting, painting, vision, bird flight, voice, ballistics, hydraulics, building materials, and human anatomy, Leonardo still had to finish writing them. In April of 1519, Leonardo drafted his last will. He bequeathed his soul to God, indicating a return to religious beliefs if he had ever strayed from them. Sforza had given him a vineyard to be shared by his servant and Salai, who also inherited the house Leonardo had been funding for him. Additionally, Leonardo left his brothers 400 ducats and the property he had won in court from Francesco. He appointed Melzi as his executor and left him all his artworks and writings. Leonardo's will also mentions his wish for an extravagant funeral, reflecting his lifelong appreciation for luxury and elegance in attire. Despite being a controversial figure and accused of various wrongdoings, Leonardo achieved great success, symbolized by the grandeur of his funeral ceremony. On May 2, 1519, Leonardo passed away. Vasari's account of him dying in the king's embrace may be more legend than reality. Leonardo da Vinci stands as a towering figure in the history of human achievement. His genius, spanning the realms of art, science, and invention, left an indelible mark on the world, shaping the course of artistic and scientific development for centuries. His iconic paintings, groundbreaking inventions, and meticulous scientific observations continue to inspire awe and fascination, reminding us of the boundless potential of human creativity and the power of an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. Leonardo da Vinci's legacy is a testament to the transformative power of intellect, imagination, and the pursuit of excellence, serving as a beacon for future generations to embrace the multifaceted nature of human endeavor.